Have you ever met someone and just knew something was off? You couldn't explain it. On paper, they seemed fine. They were smiling. They were saying all the right things. But deep down in your gut, a quiet alarm bell was ringing. Your intuition was screaming at you to step back, to protect yourself, to walk away. But you didn't listen. You ignored that quiet voice. You gave them your time. You gave them your trust. And weeks, months, or maybe even years later, you found yourself exactly where you feared you would end up. Betrayed, used, drained, or deeply disappointed. We have all been there. It is one of the most painful human experiences to realize that the mask someone wore when they first met you was just that, a mask. The problem is not that you are naive. The problem is that you were never taught how to truly see people. We live in a world that is obsessed with speaking, performing, and projecting. Everyone is trying to convince you of who they are. But the ancient Stoics, the philosophers, the emperors, the slaves who became the most resilient minds in history, they knew a secret. They knew that people's words are lies, but their nature is the truth. Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man on earth, didn't judge the people around him by their speeches or their promises. He judged them by their micro-habits, their unconscious reactions, and the subtle energy they brought into a room. He possessed what the Stoics called the ruling faculty, the ability to observe reality exactly as it is, stripped of emotion, stripped of wishful thinking, and stripped of illusion. Today we are going to unlock that exact ability. I am going to teach you the Stoic Observation Method. By the end of this video, you will be able to read almost anyone's true character in just 30 seconds. This is not about manipulation. This is not about playing mind games. This is about social armor. This is about protecting your peace, your time, and your energy in a world full of people who do not know how to control themselves. We will break down the 30 seconds into 3 distinct phases: the physical baseline, the linguistic tell, and the micro-stress test. If you master this, you will never be blindsided by a fake friend, a toxic partner, or a deceitful business associate ever again. Take a deep breath. Clear your mind. Let's begin. Before we can read anyone else, we must fix the way we look at them. Most people fail at reading others because they are trapped inside their own heads. When you are talking to someone, what are you usually doing? You are thinking about what you are going to say next. You are worrying about how you look. You are projecting your own desires onto them. If you want them to be nice, you assume they are nice. If you want them to be interested in you, you assume they are interested. The Stoics called this a failure of prosos. Prosos is the ancient Greek word for attention or mindfulness. But it's not the modern, watered-down version of mindfulness where you just focus on your breathing. For the Stoics, prosos was a state of relentless, continuous, objective awareness. It meant being completely anchored in the present moment, observing reality without your ego interfering. Epictetus, the slave who became a great Stoic master, said, "What is the first business of one who practices philosophy? To get rid of self-conceit. For it is impossible for a man to begin to learn what he thinks he already knows." To read someone in 30 seconds, you must first empty yourself. When you walk into a room to meet someone, you must become a ghost. You must detach from your own need for approval, your own anxieties, and your own preconceived notions. You must become a pure, unfiltered observer. Think of your mind like a perfectly still pond. If the water is choppy with your own thoughts and emotions, you cannot see the bottom. You cannot see what is really there. But when the water is still, when your ego is quiet, you can see straight through to the depths. This is the prerequisite. Before the 30-second clock starts, you must achieve prosos. You must look at the person in front of you, not as someone who can make you happy or ruin your day, but as a specimen of human nature. You are a scientist observing an experiment. You are a Stoic observing the world. Once your mind is still, the 30-second clock begins. The first 10 seconds are entirely non-verbal. Before they even say hello, their body has already told you everything you need to know about their internal state. The Stoics believed that the mind and the body are deeply connected. You cannot separate the two. Marcus Aurelius frequently wrote about how the physical body reflects the condition of the ruling mind. If the mind is chaotic, the body is chaotic. If the mind is disciplined, the body is disciplined. In these first 10 seconds, you are looking for 3 specific physical tells: the entrance, the eyes, and the hands. First, the entrance. How they occupy space. Watch how they enter your field of vision. Do they rush in, apologizing for their existence, shrinking their shoulders, and immediately looking for an escape route? Or do they walk in with a measured, deliberate pace? This isn't about alpha body posture or fake confidence. This is about nervous system regulation. A person who is constantly reactive, anxious, or living in a state of low-grade panic will have jerky, rushed movements. They are at the mercy of their environment. A person who practices self-mastery, the core of Stoicism, moves with intention. They do not rush unless there is an actual emergency. They occupy space comfortably because they are not at war with themselves. When you see someone who moves with calm deliberation, you are looking at someone who has some level of control over their impulses. Second, the eyes. The window to the ruling faculty. Seneca said, "The mind is the man, and the eyes are the direct projection of the mind." When they look at you, what do their eyes do? There is a massive difference between a steady gaze and a darting gaze. If their eyes are constantly darting around the room, looking over your shoulder or checking their phone, they are telling you that they do not value the present moment. They are easily distracted, easily pulled by external stimuli. In Stoic terms, they are enslaved by their environment. They lack prosoche. You cannot trust a person who cannot hold their attention on the person right in front of them. Conversely, look for the soft focus. A truly grounded person maintains eye contact, but it is not an aggressive, unblinking stare. That is just insecurity masking itself as dominance. A grounded person's eyes are relaxed but present. They look at you, not through you. But here is the secret trick for the first 10 seconds. Watch their eyes when you stop talking. When you finish a sentence, and there is a brief pause, do their eyes immediately look away in discomfort? Most people cannot handle a 2-second silence. They will look down, look away, or immediately fill the silence with nervous chatter. If they can hold your gaze comfortably in a moment of silence, they are comfortable with themselves. They do not need your constant validation. That is a high-status Stoic trait. Third, the hands. The leakage of the unconscious. Finally, look at their hands. The Stoics knew that we can control our facial expressions. We can fake a smile. We can force our face to look calm. But the hands? The hands are connected to our deepest anxieties. Are their hands clenched? Are they picking at their nails, playing with a ring, or constantly adjusting their clothes? These are pacifying behaviors. The brain is stressed, and it is ordering the hands to soothe the body. If someone's hands are constantly moving, fidgeting, or self-soothing, their nervous system is in a state of fight or flight. They are not at peace. And a person who is not at peace will eventually bring chaos into your life. On the other hand, if their hands are still, resting comfortably, or moving only to emphasize a point, it shows an alignment between their mind and their body. So, in the first 10 seconds you have assessed their baseline. You know if they are ruled by their impulses, or if they possess a degree of self-mastery. But words are coming next, and words are where people try the hardest to lie to you. Now they are speaking, and this is where 99% of people get tricked. We are biologically wired to listen to the content of what people say. We listen to their stories, their promises, their excuses, but the Stoic observer does not listen to the content. The Stoic observer listens to the structure of what they say. You must listen to the words they choose, and, more importantly, the words they avoid. In seconds 11 through 20, you are running 2 linguistic tests, the pronoun test and the gossip test. First, the pronoun test. I, we versus you. Pay close attention to the pronouns they use when talking about their life, their work, or their past. People who lack accountability, people who view themselves as victims of the world, use specific linguistic patterns. Notice how they talk about their problems. Do they say, "Things just happened to me," or "My boss made me do this," or "The traffic was terrible, so I was late"? This is the language of the victim. It is the language of someone who has surrendered their agency. Epictetus taught that the foundation of Stoicism is the dichotomy of control, separating what is up to us from what is not up to us. A person who constantly uses externalizing language is telling you that they believe they have no control over their life. If they believe they have no control, they will blame you when things go wrong. They will never take responsibility. Now, contrast this with someone who uses active, accountable language. I decided to. I realized that. I need to fix this. Beware of the person who only uses I. The narcissist uses I for everything. I did this, I achieved that, my car, my success. The truly grounded, stoic individual uses a balance. They use I when taking responsibility for their actions, but they use we when talking about shared success. They acknowledge the team, they acknowledge luck, they acknowledge the interconnectedness of humanity, a core Stoic concept called sympathia. If someone takes all the credit but shifts all the blame, you are looking at a deeply fractured, untrustworthy character. Mark them accordingly. Second, the gossip test, the ultimate character reveal. Here is the most brutal, accurate linguistic test you can run in the first 20 seconds of meeting someone. Wait for them to talk about someone who is not in the room. It could be a co-worker, an ex-partner, a mutual friend, or even a stranger they saw on the street. How do they speak about this absent third party? If they immediately resort to gossip, mockery, or cruel judgment, stop listening to their words and look at their character. Seneca was incredibly strict about this. He believed that how you speak about others is the exact blueprint of how you will eventually speak about the person you are currently talking to. If they are tearing down their best friend to you, they are tearing you down to someone else. It is not a matter of if, but when the Stoics believed in cosmopolitanism, the idea that we are all citizens of the world, part of a single human organism. To maliciously gossip is to attack a part of your own body. It is irrational and destructive. When someone gossips to you in the first 20 seconds, they are not trying to bond with you. They are signaling their own insecurity. They are trying to elevate their temporary status by lowering someone else's. It is a cheap, low-status move. A person of high character, a person who practices Stoic virtue, will either speak well of the absent person, speak neutrally, or simply change the subject. They do not need to spill tea to prove they are interesting. If they gossip in the first 20 seconds, their mask has slipped. They are not a loyal person. Keep your secrets far away from them. Third, the silence test. I mentioned silence in the physical section, but it applies here too. When you ask them a question, do they answer immediately or do they pause? Most people are terrified of silence. They will blurt out an answer the millisecond you stop speaking, just to keep the noise going. This shows a mind that is reactive and unthinking. A person who pauses for 2 or 3 seconds before answering is a person who is actually processing your words. They are thinking. They value the truth of their answer more than the speed of their reply. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily to speak only what is necessary and true. A brief pause before speaking is the physical format of that filter. It shows discipline. It shows that their tongue is not running faster than their brain. By second 20, you have analyzed their baseline, their physical tells, and their linguistic patterns. You have a very clear picture of their ego, their accountability, and their loyalty. But there is one final test, the most important one. Because anyone can fake a calm body and careful words when everything is going perfectly. To truly know someone, you must see how they handle the unexpected. The Stoics knew that character is not revealed in times of comfort. Comfort is an illusion. Character is revealed in times of friction. Epictetus, who walked with a limp because his master had broken his leg, knew more about suffering and frustration than most. He said, "It is not things that upset us, but our judgments about things." In the final 10 seconds of your 30-second observation, you are looking for the micro-stress test. You are looking for the moment when reality deviates slightly from their expectations, and you are watching how their nervous system responds. You cannot always control when this happens, but if you are observant, you will catch it. Maybe the waiter accidentally spills a drop of water on the table. Maybe a loud siren wails outside the window. Maybe they drop their keys. Maybe the barista gets their order slightly wrong. Maybe there is a slight delay in the video call, or the door they are trying to push is actually a pull door. It is a micro-inconvenience. It is completely trivial. But watch their face, watch their body, watch their breath. When the micro-stress occurs, the person will fall into one of three categories. Category 1. The eruptor, the reactive. Their face instantly contorts. Their shoulders tense up. They let out an aggressive sigh, roll their eyes, or make a snide, angry comment about the waiter, the traffic, or the door. This person has zero emotional regulation. They are a slave to their environment. If a spilled drop of water ruins their mood, imagine how they will react when you make a genuine mistake. Imagine how they will react when you lose your job, or get sick, or face actual adversity. They will turn on you. They will blame you. Their peace is entirely dependent on everything going perfectly, which is impossible. Run away. Category 2. The imploder, the anxious. They don't get angry, but they get flustered. They start apologizing profusely if it was their fault, or they look visibly panicked and overwhelmed if it wasn't. Their breathing gets shallow. They lose their train of thought. This person is easily overwhelmed by chaos. They lack resilience. The Stoic ideal is to remain unshakable in the face of external events. This person is easily shaken. They will require you to constantly manage their anxiety. They will drain your energy because they cannot self-soothe when the world doesn't go according to Plan 3. The Stoic. The grounded, the glass spills. The siren wails. The order is wrong. What do? Nothing dramatic. They might take a slight deep breath. Their face remains neutral. They might even smile slightly, recognizing the absurdity of getting upset over a minor inconvenience. They handle it calmly, efficiently, and without emotional leakage. They say, "No worries," or "It's fine," and they actually mean it. Their heart rate doesn't spike. Their mood doesn't shift. This is the golden ticket. This is a person who practices the dichotomy of control. They understand that a spilled glass is just a spilled glass. It is an external event. It has no power over their mind unless they give it permission. If you see someone pass the micro-stress test in those final 10 seconds, you have found someone of high character. You have found someone who can be trusted, someone who will not crumble when life gets hard, and someone who will not punish you for the inevitable imperfections of the world. The 30 seconds are up. The observation is complete. Now that you know how to read them, you need to understand why they are acting this way. When you observe people using the Stoic method, you will quickly realize that almost everyone you meet is wearing a mask. They are not showing you their true selves because their true selves are vulnerable and the world is harsh. Based on your 30-second observation, you will almost always categorize them into one of three archetypes. Understanding these archetypes will tell you exactly how to handle them. Archetype 1. The performer. The echo. The performer is obsessed with how they are perceived. During your 30-second scan, they had perfect posture, but it felt rigid. They maintained eye contact, but it felt calculated. They spoke well, but they were subtly fishing for your approval. They used I constantly, and they subtly name-dropped. The performer is driven by ego and external validation. They are not evil, but they are deeply insecure. They will agree with you, mirror your opinions, and tell you what you want to hear, how to handle them. Do not trust their compliments, and do not trust their loyalty. Their loyalty belongs to whoever is currently validating them. Keep the relationship superficial, enjoy their company, but never hand them the keys to your emotional well-being. Archetype 2. The reactor. The storm. The reactor is entirely at the mercy of their emotions. During your scan, they fidgeted. They gossiped. They sighed heavily when the microstress occurred. They spoke quickly, interrupting you, desperate to be heard. The reactor has not done the inner work. They are a walking open wound, and they will accidentally cut you when they thrash around. They are not necessarily malicious, but their lack of self-control makes them dangerous to your peace. How to handle them? Set ironclad boundaries. Do not try to save them. Do not try to fix them. Epictetus said, "We cannot choose our external circumstances, but we can always choose how we respond to them." You cannot control their storm, so you must build a shelter for yourself. Limit your time with them and never engage in their drama. Archetype 3, the observer. The Stoic. The observer is rare. During your scan, they were still. They listened more than they spoke. They asked you questions about yourself. When the microstress happened, they remained grounded. Their eyes were calm and their words were measured. The observer has faced their own demons and won. They do not need to prove anything to you. They are comfortable in silence. They are secure in their own skin. How to handle them? Value them. Protect them. These are the people you build your inner circle with. These are the people you do business with. These are the people you marry. But remember, because they are observers, they are also observing you. You must bring your best, most authentic self to the table, because they will see right through your masks. So you have read them. You know who they are. You know if they are a performer, a reactor, or an observer. Now comes the most crucial part. What do you do with this information? If you are coming from a place of modern dark psychology or manipulative pickup artistry, your next thought would be, how can I use this information to control them? How can I manipulate them to get what I want? If that is your goal, stop watching this video. Stoicism is not about manipulating others. It is about mastering yourself. The Stoic response to reading someone's true character is not judgment. It is not anger. It is not cynicism. It is radical, unshakable detachment combined with deep compassion. Let me explain. When you realize someone is a reactor, when you realize they are gossiping, when you realize they are fake, your ego will want to get angry. Your ego will want to confront them. Your ego will want to say, I see through you. I know what you are. Marcus Aurelius gave us the ultimate antidote to this ego-driven reaction. Every morning, the Emperor of Rome would wake up and say this to himself. Begin the morning by saying to thyself, I shall meet with the busybody, the ungrateful, arrogant, deceitful, envious, and unsocial. All these things happen to them by reason of their ignorance of what is good and evil. Read that again. Ignorance of what is good and evil. When you read someone and see their flaws, their fakeness, their reactivity, the Stoic does not hate them. The Stoic pities them. You realize that the person gossiping about others is deeply unhappy. The person who needs to constantly show off is deeply insecure. The person who cannot handle a spilled glass of water is a slave to their own mind. They are suffering. They are trapped in a prison of their own ego and lack of self-awareness. As Marcus Aurelius said, when you are offended by someone's wrongdoing, ask yourself, is it not true that we are made for cooperation? Like feet, like hands, like eyelids, like the rows of the upper and lower teeth. To act against one another then is contrary to nature. They are not evil. They are sick. They are asleep. When you view them this way, you become untouchable. If someone insults you, you don't get angry, because you realize their insult is a reflection of their character, not yours. If someone betrays you, you don't cry, because your 30-second observation told you they were a performer, and you knew the risk when you engaged with them. This is the true power of the Stoic Observation Method. It doesn't just help you read others, it grants you absolute emotional immunity. You stop taking things personally. You stop expecting a reactor to act like an observer. You stop expecting a performer to be deeply authentic. You accept people exactly as they are, without the illusion of who you want them to be. And once you accept them as they are, you can make rational, clear-headed decisions about how much access they get to your life. You detach, not in a cold, cruel way, but in a peaceful, boundary-setting way. You smile, you nod, you wish them well, and you quietly close the door. You protect your energy, you guard your peace. Because your peace is the most valuable asset you possess, and you will not let someone who cannot control their own mind steal it from you. We have spent a lot of time talking about how to read others, how to scan their bodies, listen to their words, and test their reactions. But there is one final, brutal truth that the Stoics would force you to confront. The most important person you need to read is yourself, because here is the secret that the dark psychology gurus won't tell you. The things you notice in other people are often the things you are ignoring in yourself. Carl Jung, who was heavily influenced by Stoic philosophy, called this the shadow. If you are highly irritated by someone's arrogance, it is often because you have repressed your own desire for recognition. If you are deeply triggered by someone's laziness, it is because you are terrified of your own potential to rest. When you practice the Stoic Observation Method, you must turn the lens around. When you catch someone gossiping, ask yourself, do I gossip? When you catch someone fidgeting and lacking presence, ask yourself, am I truly present in my own life, or am I constantly distracted? When you catch someone reacting poorly to a microstress, ask yourself, how do I react when my coffee is cold, or when the traffic is bad? Seneca said, the mind is never more active than when it is contemplating itself. The ultimate goal of reading others is not to become a master of judging them. The ultimate goal is to become a master of judging yourself. Every person you meet is a mirror. They are reflecting your own level of development back to you. When you reach a point where you no longer feel the need to judge the reactors, the performers, and the fakes, when you can look at them with pure, unbothered compassion, it is because you have done the work on yourself. You have built your own fortress. You have cultivated your own prososh. You have mastered your own ruling faculty. And when you master yourself, you no longer need to read people to protect yourself. You become untouchable, not because you are hiding behind a shield of psychological tricks, but because you are grounded in your own virtue. You are at peace. And a person who is truly at peace cannot be disturbed by the chaos of others. Let's summarize the 30-second Stoic Observation Method, seconds 1 to 10, the physical baseline. Look at how they enter the space. Are they rushed and chaotic, or deliberate and calm? Look at their eyes. Do they dart around, or do they hold a steady, soft focus? Look at their hands. Are they pacifying themselves, or are they still? You are checking their nervous system. You are checking their baseline of self-mastery. Seconds 11 to 20. The Linguistic Tell. Listen to their pronouns. Do they take accountability with I, or do they play the victim with they? Listen to how they talk about others. Do they gossip and tear people down, or do they speak with neutrality and grace? You are checking their ego and their loyalty. Seconds 21 to 30. The micro-stress test. Wait for the inevitable minor inconvenience. The spilled drink, the loud noise, the slight delay. Watch their face and their breath. Do they erupt in anger, implode in anxiety, or remain grounded and unbothered? You are checking their resilience and their emotional regulation. That is it. 30 seconds. You don't need to be a body language expert. You don't need to read 10 books on micro-expressions. You just need to cultivate prososh. You just need to be relentlessly, objectively present. The world is full of people who are sleepwalking. They are reacting to every stimulus, controlled by their egos, driven by their insecurities, and desperately trying to convince you of a false reality. Do not let them drag you into their sleep. Keep your eyes open. Keep your mind still. Observe the reality in front of you. Protect your energy. And above all, use every interaction as a mirror to refine your own character. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one.